Not long ago, we released a video on how millions of Redditors organized themselves to pump money into the stock of a certain company, making millions along the way and causing reptilians to lose billions. However, it wasn't so simple, because some reptilians also made money on the righteous flash mob. If you haven't seen this video yet, click right here. It may seem strange, but these topics are connected by the internet, which acts as a mirror of the underlying problems and concerns of the people. While Americans coordinated to grow their capital, in India, human lives were at stake. And this story is one of the most tragic, revealing different kinds of problems of the global corporate influence. This story took place in 2018 in India in the Dhull district of the Ryanpada village. This is a small village that you will hardly find without a local. Residents of this district earn an average of $100 per month, which is 30% less than the national average. And it was connected to the internet only a couple of years before the event. It was the internet that highlighted, accelerated, and catalyzed deaths. On July the 1st, 5 people arrived in Ryanpada village to take part in the Sunday fair. These 5 people belonged to the nomadic Gosavi tribe, and they came to the village to get food for their loved ones. On the way, they met a 9-year-old girl and offered her cookies. This act turned out to be fatal for the young men. They were approached by a local resident of 22 years old who wanted to find out why they spoke to the girl. The conversation got out of control. The tension rose, more and more locals gathered at the scene, and at some point, they began to beat the outsiders. They beat them viciously with stones and fittings. A local councillor tried to help the men and hid them inside the administrative building. They barricaded windows and doors to escape the angry crowd. They called the police, but the crowd was faster. They broke into the building and, while screaming about the kidnapping of children, finished what they had started. On July the 1st, 2018, 5 members of the Gosavi community were killed by a distraught mob in the village of Ryanpada. On suspicion of murder, 28 people between the ages of 20 and 25 were arrested. You might be asking yourself a question. What kind of madness have I just heard, and why is an entire video dedicated to this? And this is where His Majesty context enters the scene. In Dhull district, every 3rd person doesn't know how to read or write. And I'm not even talking about extraordinary things like critical thinking. But this doesn't prevent people from enjoying the fruits of technological progress. They bought smartphones and installed Instagram and WhatsApp. The latter played a key part in this story. The fact is that Indians are the most numerous users of WhatsApp. You can see the statistics for 2019 on your screen, but at the time of the events there were under 200 million users. India has the largest user base. WhatsApp is a unique phenomenon there. The app penetrated deeply into every family. Most of us who move out of our villages to study or to work are in at least a few WhatsApp groups that belong to our villages. Nobody in my village reads or watches TV. They only get updates from WhatsApp, so they didn't know what to believe. Sandeep Wadway, a student from a small village in Dhull district. And it so happened that around this time, fakes about child kidnappers operating in the area began to circulate. One of the viral videos looks like this. Motorcyclists drive up to the children, grab one of them and drive off. Only this is an incomplete video, and it was originally made in Pakistan as part of a children protection campaign. We're not going to show you another recording. It shows a photograph of children lying on the floor with the voice of an unknown man talking about hunters for children's organs. Even though it uses a picture taken in Syria, the video ends with a call to distribute the video in as many WhatsApp chats as possible. Whoever does not spread this message is not his mother's son. Well, remember how you were when you were 12 years old. You believed all this nonsense, saying, if you don't send this to another 10 people, you'll die. This is kind of a similar thing. And now you understand what the background was of that local resident who saw 5 strangers talking to a girl. What kinds of images were in the head of this, to put it mildly, uneducated man that consumed all the information from WhatsApp? And he wasn't the only one. 28 people were detained, most of the attackers didn't have a job, and 15 of them never went to school. I'm more educated than people in my village, so I don't believe the rumours. But nobody in my village reads or watches TV. They only get updates from WhatsApp, so they didn't know what to believe. This is amplified by, and it's not a good thing to say, the culture of lynching. Because literally 12 hours later, not far away from the place of the accident, an almost exact same thing happened. The crowd wanted to massacre a family of 5 people, suspecting them of kidnapping. But that story ended well. 50 policemen saved the lives of innocent people. 10 days later, on April the 13th, history repeated itself without a happy ending. A 32-year-old software developer became a victim of a lynching, all for the same reason: suspicion of children kidnapping fueled by WhatsApp fakes. In principle, lynchings have been taking place in India for a long time. There's even a website that tracks such events. Before that, among the main reasons had been suspicion of livestock smuggling and eating beef. As you know, the cow is a sacred animal in India. But since 2017, when the internet came to the villages, video fakes became another reason for the lynching. Before that, firstly, the reasons for lynching didn't have a tangible manifestation. These could be rumors of local residents, which are difficult to see with your own eyes, but now there is an app with specific fakes about gangs that kidnap children. Secondly, the information wasn't spreading so fast. Only between May 2017 and July 2018, that is, in less than a year, there were 27 lynching incidents based on forwarded fakes. In response to the ongoing madness, Indian WhatsApp limited the number of people that you can forward a message to, only 5. They also added the well-known forwarded message caption, and only later, by 2019, a double arrow was introduced if the original message was forwarded more than 5 times. And here we might recall our recent video on social media and its impact on people's minds. Some may even draw parallels with Trump and the storming of the Capitol. If you've not watched it yet, we recommend you to check it out. These videos are logically connected. It may seem that these arrows don't do anything. Well, let's combat the lynching with an arrow icon. What a great idea. But before, when you forwarded a message, it wasn't highlighted in any way. That is, the recipient of the message thought that it was a friend who was sending them their thoughts, rather than taking it from an outside source. In this case, in an agrarian society where people tend to believe the words of their neighbors, even ridiculous information is viewed as the gospel truth. After all, these are the words of my mate or my bro or my mother. We've always lived this way. And the forwarded message marking weakened this sense of truth a little, because it was no longer your friend talking to you, but someone out there. Our client's position is that they genuinely thought that the 5 people were child kidnappers because they had been seeing this kind of information on WhatsApp for months. 2 of the 4 state-assigned lawyers representing the 28 people accused. And of course, all these technical solutions weren't enough. Firstly, because everyone uses Android, bypasses Google Play Market and downloads WhatsApp through the ShareIt and Xender file sharing services. This means that most of the people in these parts of the world use older versions of the app without the latest anti-misinformation features, such as highlighting forwarded messages. When BuzzFeed news reporters checked the phones of a dozen young people in the area, only 1 of them was running the latest version of WhatsApp. So, it's not about the internet and not about WhatsApp, it just so happened that a product made in a well-developed society fell into the hands of less developed people. It turns out that technologies by themselves don't bring light and goodness to the world, but they can reveal the ugliest sides of the human soul. That's why the Indian government has also launched educational projects, posted public service announcements in newspapers, and most importantly, dove deep into WhatsApp to monitor village groups. Every police station in the district began to look after 100 villages. Sometimes they even hold classes, like this.
कोणी पाठवलं तुला? येणे मुलं पकडणारी टोळी आली. मला एक सांगा, तुम्ही सगळ्यांनी मला सांगा. मुलं पकडणारी टोळी हे व्हॉट्सअपच्या ह्याच्यामधून तुम्हाला मेसेज पाठवला. तुम्ही प्रत्यक्ष डोळ्याने पाहिलं का? ताई तुम्ही मला सांगा, तुम्ही कधी प्रत्यक्ष डोळ्याने पाहिलं का मुलं पकडणारी टोळी आली म्हणून? दुसरी गोष्ट, दुसरा ह्यातला मेसेज आहे की मुलांच्या किडन्या काढल्या जातात, मुलांना पकडून नेलं जातं. आतापर्यंत किती मुलांच्या किडन्या काढल्या तुम्ही काय प्रत्यक्ष डोळ्याने पाहिलंय का? ताई तुम्ही कुणी पाहिलंय का? त्यांनी पाहिलं नाही, तुम्ही पाहिलं नाही. सर्वात महत्त्वाची गोष्ट, आता मला सांगा, आतापर्यंत समाजातील भरपूर सारी मुलं पकडण्याची टोळी आली असेल तर मुलं गायब झाली असतील ना?
This was the most striking example of people getting a tool for which their minds are not ready. If your being does not keep pace with progress, a catastrophe can occur when it collides with the products of this progress. In the worst case, the cost will be people's lives. At best, you will experience just a future shock. This is, by the way, the term of Alvin Toffler, whom we admire very much, and this whole story very well describes how the products of the third wave society swept over the first wave society. We all are trying to keep up with the evolutionary frenzy to avoid the future shock. To what extent do you think your being keeps up with the progress? Post your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell. And I'm Boney Wright.